call the meeting to order. If we could all please rise. The Honorable Jim Jolly will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Madam President. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Jolly. Good evening and welcome to the July 26, 2021 study session of the Livonia City Council. This meeting sets the agenda for the 1926th regular meeting, a voting meeting that will take place on Monday, August 9th, 2021. I believe all members of the council are with us this evening. I have one announcement to make, and that's that we have one X item at the end of the meeting. Does the council have any announcements they'd like to make? All right. Seeing none, this evening's meeting is a study meeting. There are no votes taken this evening at this meeting. The council members will, however, offer either one resolution or a combination of resolutions for each item. The resolutions offered may include approving, denying, or referring resolution to committee or city department for its report and recommendation. A resolution of no further action may also be offered. There are some items that will simply be received and placed on file for the information of the City Council. Please note that all of the items on tonight's agenda will move on to the regular meeting of Monday, August 9th, where they will be officially voted upon. If you would like to participate in any of the agenda items that are taken up this evening, please approach one of the podiums on either side of the room when the item is called, and you will be recognized at the appropriate time. Generally, the petitioner, whether that is the city or a private entity, will make the initial presentation followed by remarks from those in the audience who wish to speak. So please come to the podium when the item is called. When you reach the podium and you're recognized, please state your name and address for the record so that your remarks may be properly attributed to you in the minutes for the meeting. It will also let the council members and anyone watching at home know who is speaking to them. And at this, we go to the audience communication. If anyone here this evening would like to communicate with the council on any item not on this evening's agenda, now is an opportunity to do so. Seeing none, then we'll proceed with our agenda, beginning with new business. Item number 1 is a request to barricade city streets. This comes to us from Chris Inch, from the Stevenson Cross Country Coach. On Friday, August 20th, 2021, from 4 to 10 p.m. on Perth Street from Stark Road until it dead ends west of Farmington for a nighttime high school cross-country meet. Good evening, Coach.
Thank you. Oh, my name's Chris Inch.
And?
Oh, my address? Yes, I'm actually from Farmington, 235.
You can give us your business address.
Okay, I'm over at Livonia Stevenson High School.
On 6
Sorry, I'm
Mile
new to
Road.
this.
No problem.
Okay.
All right, and you'd like to barricade the city streets for a nighttime high school cross-country meet?
That is correct.
All right. Councilmember Jolly?
I think this is an awesome idea. I got a chance to talk to Rick Brower about this, I think, a few months ago. The only thing that I'm disappointed in is that we're not somehow able to leave this open for the general public to use the course as well, but there's really no way to do that. But it sounds so cool that it would be great to make this available to all of our residents to use your work and do the course. Like I said, I understand that's not doable, but your runners and the visiting runners are going to have a great time out there. So I'm happy to put this on consent if there are no objections.
All right.
Madam President.
Councilmember Barr.
No objections, but I just want to ask on behalf of Councilmember Donovic, in case you missed the last meeting, did Stevenson beat Churchill in cross country last year?
We did not. Well, no, take that back. No, take that back. We beat him in a dual meet. We lost in the city meet to him.
Just a joke from the last meeting. So
okay.
I'm a Stevenson grad, he's a Churchill grad.
Okay.
I had a 50% chance of getting a dig at him. But
I just want to make sure I got it on the record. We did beat him in a dual meet.
Madam President.
Councilmember Donovic.
Thank you, Madam President. I was going to ask if celebrity appearances were allowed, because I know Councilman McCullough and Jolly like to run, and myself included. I'd like to beat them, kind of like Churchill Chargers beat Stevenson occasionally. But if celebrity appearances aren't allowed, I understand. So, yeah. Not much of a celebrity, but just, you know.
Yeah.
And we would like to open it up to the public in the future. It's a proof of concept the first year. It's a lot to take on.
Yep.
And once you build the infrastructure, we should keep it around. I'd love to do something for the city in the future, and our game plan is it's going to go well, and we want to kind of grow the concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is great and exciting, and so it's on the consent agenda, meaning you don't have to come back.
Okay.
You're always welcome, and we're excited about the meet, and we'll look forward to hearing more about it.
Sounds good. Thank you for
All right,
having me.
thank you, Coach. By the way, Stevenson, class of 81, so, not on the cross-country team. All right, number 2 is a block party request. This comes to us from Jakey Gordon to be held on Friday, August 27th, 2021, from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. between Elmira and Orange Lawn with no rain date requested. Good evening.
Hi. Jackie Gordon, 11017 Arden, and again for a block party on Friday, August 27th.
All right,
Madam Chair?
yes.
Everything looks
Councilmember
in
Wright.
order. This looks to be in my neck of the woods, and I'll be happy to offer an approving with placing it on consent if there's no objection.
All right, any objections? Seeing none, so that means, Ms. Gordon, your event will be placed on consent agenda. That means you don't have to come back.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, enjoy the party, and thanks for organizing it. Item number 3 is also a block party coming to us from Karen Worden to be held on Saturday, August 28, 2021, from 3 to 10 p.m. on Flamingo between St. Martin's and Breton with a rain date of Saturday, September 4th, 2021. Good evening, Karen.
Hello, Karen Worden, 19651 Flamingo Boulevard.
Council?
Madam President, everything looks in order. It looks like it's going to be a good time. I'll offer an approving for consent.
Thank you. This is our 15th annual, so
I was
we're
going to
glad to
ask
be back.
you. Wonderful.
We didn't have one last year, obviously, so.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for being here, and thank you to everyone who takes the time to organize block parties. They help make neighborhoods great and strong, and they're a lot of fun,
You're
so thank
absolutely
you.
right. Thank you.
All right, take care, Karen. Thank you. Item number 4 is a block party request from Crystal Evans to be held on Saturday, August 28, 2021, from 3 to 10 p.m. on Grandin between Brentwood and Harrison with no rain date requested. Good evening.
Good evening. Krista Levens, 28615 Grandin Street.
Madam President, I'd like to
Councilmember Donovic?
offer approving on consent if there's no objection.
All right, any objection? Seeing none, that'll go on the consent agenda, which means you don't have to come back either, and have a great party. And
Thank you
thanks for
so
taking the
much.
time to organize it and be here tonight.
Thank you. It's actually a 35th annual, too.
Oh, that's fantastic. Item number 5 is a block party. This request comes to us from Julie Freda to be held on Saturday, September 11th, from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Sussex between Sherwood and Fitzgerald with a rain date of Sunday, September 12th, 2021. Good evening.
Hello, my name is Julie Freda from 15643 Sussex Street,
Okay?
asking for our block party to be approved
All
for
right.
the 23rd year.
Wow, that's fantastic. Councilmember McCullough.
I'll offer approving for consent.
All right. No objections? That means you don't have to come back, and it will be on our consent agenda at the August 9th meeting. So have a great party, and thank you for being here and taking the time to organize the party.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stevenson, class of 82.
Woo! Number 6 is also a block party request. This comes just from Patricia Stefanoff to be held on Saturday, September 11th, 2021, from 2 to 9 p.m. on the north cul-de-sac of Alpine Drive between Alpine and Fairlane with no rain date requested. Good evening.
How you doing? Mark Welty, 15458 Alpine Drive.
Okay?
Madam President,
Councilmember Dally.
everything looks in order. I will be happy to offer this. I'm almost tempted just to say denying, just because we approved all the rest, but no, it looks like a good time. All the paperwork's in order. I'll offer it for consent. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, again,
Yeah,
you don't,
We've already notified all the neighbors a couple times.
well, enjoy, and you don't have to come back, and thank you for being here, and thank you for the work and putting your block party together. Have a good evening. All right, item number 7 is a request to approve addendum to the sublease agreement between the City of Livonia and Livonia Civic Arenas. This comes to us from the Department of Recreation to suspend lease payments for Eddie Edgar Arena for 12 months beginning August 1st, 2021. Mr. Davis?
Thank you, Council President McIntyre. I apologize for not having a block party to approve in front of you. I feel bad for breaking the streak. We are asking for an amendment to the existing lease agreement. LCA has been an outstanding community partner for the last 25 years. For the last 15 operating Eddie Edgar, and 10 before that operating Devon Ice Arenas. The pandemic was unfortunately very difficult for them, as it was for a lot of businesses. Our nonprofit partners were not spared during this time. If we remember, ice arenas were one of the last amenities to open back up fully. What we're asking for in this addendum is to suspend the lease payments that they've been making for the next 12 months. I'd be happy to answer any questions council might have.
Vice President Barr?
Yeah, first of all, I was going to tell you, if you were here for block party, your chance of approval would probably be higher, but No, I'm just
True.
I'm just teasing, even though that's technically probably true. Just a couple questions, Ted. I noticed in the paperwork you provided, so we're forgiving the lease payments on this for the hardship you talked about, which I think we all understand the economics of that, but for the next 12 months, my question is why the next 12 months versus the previous? I mean, we're out of it now, so why are we?
We are out
forgiving
of
them going
it. They've
forward?
had to deplete their resources to obviously make payroll. I mean, at one point, they were literally, with a governor's decision, they were 1 week away from insolvency. And this is just a way for us to ensure their continued success. It's easier, as you know, to put money into a city than to get money out of it. So it simply makes more sense for us to suspend the lease payments for the next 12 months.
Okay, so it's kind of a retroactive action, but it's easier to administer going forward versus backward, basically, right?
Correct.
Okay, that makes sense to me. The second question is, since this is essentially the city bearing cost for the shutdowns, is this something that's eligible, to your knowledge, for some of the COVID relief funds? Is this something we can potentially get reimbursed?
Not being a finance director and not having all the rules that are changing frequently, I would really feel most comfortable deferring that question to Mike Slater.
Okay, that's probably a fair answer. And not something that this is contingent on. I was just curious if you knew the answer, so. All right, thanks, Madam President, I'm all set.
Councilmember Donovan, then Councilmember Jolly.
Thank you, Madam President. Through the chair to Mr. Davis, I would just like to note that this has actually become common amongst the real estate community, whether it be commercial, multifamily, or even residential, where you've seen a lot of landlords either suspending lease payments or pushing them back to be recuperated another time. And that was my question. Is the plan here to suspend them and take the loss for 12 months of rent revenue, or do you intend at some point to, a year from now, start to get that money back, where you increase their rents and try to make the money back that we've lost over 12 months?
Thank you for the question, Councilman Donovan. Our intention right now is simply to suspend the lease payments for the next 12 months and not increase payments in the subsequent years of the contract.
So we will not be getting this 12 months of money back at a later time, 10 years down the road?
That's correct.
Thank you. I'd like to offer an approving on consent if there's no objection.
Councilmember Jolly.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Davis, I would have asked you this question beforehand. I would have given you a call, but that was not possible. So are we sure that this will shore up their finances to the point where we will not have to look for a potential new partner down the road? Does that make sense? I mean, like, are we doing, I mean, I just want to make sure, listen, for those people who are watching and those people in the public here, my understanding is that Livonia Civic Arena is in many ways really doing us a favor by taking the burden of the operation of this ice arena off our backs, off our city dollar, off our tax dollars. Will this shore them up enough to the point where we can ensure their long-term stability? Does that make sense?
It does. Councilman John, that's a great question, and the simple answer is I don't know. I mean, we're going to have to wait this out and see what happens with school teams, what happens with LHA, what happens with adult leagues. I think there's a lot of factors in play here. In the short term, in the now, this is what we're doing. And if LCA comes to us next year and is having difficulties again, would I be more than willing to come before this body again with another 12-month suspension of lease payments? I absolutely would. That's how important a partner they are. Their long-term health is worth far more to Parks and Recreation, the community in a whole than 12 months or 24 months of lease payments.
Yeah, because I know from some other municipalities, they literally can't take anybody, they can't find anybody to take their ice arenas for any kind of cost, to take it off their hands and off their operational budgets and stuff like that. So the only thing I would say is, and obviously you will do this, I'm sure you will, knowing how you operate, but let's make sure that we prioritize the relationship and the open line of communication with them so that we know that this is, if things do not recover, we're able to respond quick enough to make sure that we don't lose them as a partner.
I agree. We have a good communication with the LCA board and staff on site.
Thank you, sir. Good job.
Madam President?
Yes, Councilmember McCullough.
Through the chair to Mr. Davis, I'm sure this is, I know the answer to this, but obviously with the operation with LCA, they pay the utilities, they're picking up costs for day-to-day maintenance. That's all that's on them, correct?
Councilman McCullough, yes, they pay for all operational costs.
All right, so for the people that don't know, when you operate 2 sheets of ice, you have evaporating cooling towers that cost an immense amount of money, and being a patron of adult leagues, and even my youngsters jumping into the game, they maintained the 2 sheets even during the pandemic, and they had any programming that they possibly could. I can tell you that hockey in Livonia is huge, and I completely echo Mr. Davis's sentiments on keeping these guys afloat. They do a wonderful job. One good sign, my daughter Harper just turned 7. They had a girl skate with 54 young girls learning to skate for the first time. These are good signs. So hopefully this is a trend that continues, because hockey in Livonia are something that go hand in hand. So this is something that I wholeheartedly support, and hopefully we can get some programming going back on the ice. Thank you.
Madam President.
Yes, Councilmember Donovan.
I'm sorry, I should have asked this earlier, and I can't remember looking at the agenda item. Is this a triple net lease, or how does that work with them? Or are there CAM fees, or?
Sorry.
Sorry. Never mind. Thank you.
All right. That's been offered for the consent agenda, and no objections to that? All right, we'll place it on the consent. Item number 8 is request to adopt the American with Disabilities Act Access, Audit, and Transition Plan. This comes from the Department of Recreation for federal requirements which mandate the accessibility of City of Livonia sites.
Thank you, Council President. Again, Ted Davis for Parks and Recreation. What you have before you is a plan that was actually approved by Council, previously Council Resolution 250-20. This was funded from a grant from Healthy Livonia, so no city dollars went to this. Federal requirements mandate the City of Livonia have accessibility for our sites. What I attached is a draft, or is the report, the summarized report of all the findings. This gives us a roadmap to ensure accessibility for our parks and recreation amenities throughout the system, throughout 65 sites and almost 1,400 acres of land. So it's about, I'd be happy to share with Council again the 12-page Excel spreadsheet I printed out on large paper so I can actually read it all. And what this is simply done is this gives us the areas we need to address that we incorporate into our capital plan, and we need to show progress on this moving forward.
Madam Chair.
I'd be happy to answer any questions Council might have on this.
Yes, Councilmember Toy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I may to Mr. Davis for a minute. Mr. Davis, in that report, because I didn't get to read the whole thing, do we address the ramp coming into City Hall? I've had a lot of complaints about that. You know where I mean?
Yep, I sure do.
Come in the side door there.
Having been in an e-cart here, I sure do.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
What I will say is this report doesn't address all city buildings. It only addresses parks and recreation facilities.
Okay.
So the Senior Center, the Rec Center, Greenmead, Rotary Park, Bicentennial, Ford Field, Clements Circle. It does not address City Hall or the library or DPW or any other city structure or amenity.
Who's going to do, who's in charge of that? Do we, on the City Hall building itself?
To the best of my knowledge, Councilwoman Toy, would be DPW.
DPW. And then also, as we look at, the ramp coming down here for folks that, and I don't know if you were here that night or not, but we've had a couple instances where it's a little bit more difficult to navigate that area in there. That probably should be looked at as well, I would guess.
If I might, just for council, we came down here the other day, and I walked through with DPW because of the issue we had, and we took a look at that to see if there's something can be done about that situation. Sure. So that immediate one that we dealt with at the last meeting is being looked at right now.
Great. And can you add to your list that ramp too out front?
Well, I can add it to.
We're on the Parks and Rec audit right now.
Yeah, I know, but if we don't mention these things during a meeting, sometimes we can't call people, and it's a little difficult, if you know what I mean. So, Madam Chair, so, you know, just a word of kindness. How's that?
Councilmember Jolly.
Thank you, Madam President. Well, I think for a second there, Mr. Davis is worried that he's going to get more responsibilities and he's going to have to oversee more buildings and more operations, but we won't do that to him today. I will acknowledge the foresight that actually doing this takes. You know, we hear that there are problems at large that are not particular in nature, and they kind of come up as one-offs here and there that we hear of. To actually take the time and effort and find the grant funding to do an inventory of the needs is the first step in terms of addressing any problems that we have. And knowing what the needs are also allow you to have the information available to apply for future grant funding to potentially fix these problems without utilizing taxpayer funds. So again, I will commend you on your efforts. I think you're doing a great job. The Parks and Rec Commission's doing a great job, all of your staff. You know, I think we're headed in the right direction. So if I can't recall, we've been talking for a bit. If there's not a motion yet for consent, I'll offer it.
Thank you, Councilman John.
All right. Councilmember McCullough.
Thank you, Madam President. Through the chair to Mr. Davis, just a couple questions. The items listed, obviously, the 10-year plan and the little over 4.3 mil would address, you know, that addresses pretty much everything that we have in the current parks and everything, correct?
Yes, it does.
The question I do have is, obviously, we're going into budget season. I think phase 1 was a 5-year. Will we see that coming before us for this coming budget in the FY '22?
So I think probably when we got this report, Councilman McCullough, it was we're well into capital planning for fiscal year '22. What we are going to address is one of the items on there is Bicentennial Playground was an item that was mentioned in there. Parking at Bicentennial was mentioned in there. Those two items will be addressed. What we need to do is show that we're making progress throughout the course. We're not defined by a 5-year or a 10-year or a 20-year plan for, you know, addressing accessibility needs. What we do need to show is that we are consistently working on it. And when we are addressing a park or an area, we are bringing it up to 2008 code.
And even with our current CIP that going forward, they're going to be including ADA, obviously. So, I mean, to do this is a great step to really taking a proactive rather than being reactive. And I commend you and your staff and Healthy Livonia. I know Councilmember Donovic and I are usually on those Friday meetings, and that's a great team. So all in all, a great overall effort. I did have just a few more questions, if I can. There was a couple items, I think they were almost bullet points, that I could see. I'm assuming we could jump on them now, but designating someone as a responsible employee, complaint procedure, and a process to make reasonable modifications. Do we have any of those in place?
We are working on those right now.
Okay, cool. That's all I had. Like I said, I dove into the report. It was pretty much where I thought it would be with the amount, but like you said, it's good to keep on rolling on these enhancements. So thank you.
Anyone else? All right, it's been offered for consent. So if there's nothing further, we'll move on to the next item.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And this is a request to accept stormwater facilities maintenance agreements. Comes to us from the Engineering Division from 6 Mile Properties LLC in conjunction with the construction of a storm drainage system that provides adequate drainage for property developed at 17180 Farmington Road in the southwest quarter of Section 10. Mr. Zalinsik.
Yes, as you remember, this is the old BP gas station that was tore down back in 2015. Just a matter of trying to get the information completed from the developer. It was Wayne County permit, stormwater permit. They got permits to work in that right away. So it's just a housekeeping issue that everything's been approved. We got the as-built and looking for City Council's approval for long-term stormwater maintenance agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Council?
I'll move it on consent.
All right, anyone else? Any comments? All right, seeing none, no objections, place on consent. We'll place that on consent, Mr. Zalinsik. Thank you. All right, at this time, I need a motion to suspend the rules.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Donovic. Any discussion on suspending the rules? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please take the vote on the suspension of the rules?
Okay, sorry, we don't usually take votes in a study meeting.
I know we don't.
So I'm going to go back to the order from the first meeting, so just to follow along with that order. Councilmember Donovic?
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly?
Aye.
Councilmember Toy? Vice President Barr?
Aye.
Councilmember White?
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough?
Aye.
President McIntyre?
Aye, and so the addition of an X item is approved. We have one X item this evening, which is item X1. This is a request for temporary hourly rate increase and hiring bonuses comes from the Department of Civil Service for the 2021 and 2022 temporary seasonal positions. Good evening, Ms. Mayor.
Good evening, Madam President, council members. How is everyone?
Good, thank you.
Good. Alive. Good. We come to you this evening with a request that has been before the commission. They approved it and to move it to the council. The request is being made to address a growing staffing shortage within our Parks and Recreation Department. The shortage has already led to closures in programs and a reduction in services, which is also having an effect on memberships. People are canceling their memberships because we can't offer all the services and programs. So it's having a very negative effect. The pools, summer camp, playground enrollment, and kids' quarter services have all been adversely affected. And the staffing shortages are now negatively affecting members and operations at the Jackie Kirksey Recreation Center. We're looking, this is a temporary fix, if you will. We know that it's not going to solve all of our problems. However, neighboring communities have done similar type programs, temporary programs, by increasing their hourly wages. We're trying to give it a 1-2 punch, if you will, with increasing hourly wages temporarily, plus a bonus for those that stay 90 days with us. The increase in wages would be $2.50 an hour for employees, Parks and Rec temporary employees levels 1 through 6, and $1.50 an hour for temporary employees levels 7 through 9. The stick with us or loyalty bonus would be $500 after 90 days, and that's just to get some continuity of employment. We are hiring people and then losing them. They're not staying 90 days. So we're hoping that with this package, we will not only attract additional employees, but we'll be able to keep them on longer.
Thank you. Councilmember Donovic?
Thank you, Madam President. Through the chair, you're seeing this in so many different industries. You're struggling just to keep people to work. I mean, you're competing against the government with unemployment and all these different fringe benefits and programs. It's hard, and I don't care if you're in municipal business, restaurant business, engineering. I mean, I was talking to a local business a few days ago, and he can't get CNC operators, and he pays phenomenal. So I've talked to so many different businesses in our community, and no one is exempt from this issue. I guess one of my questions is where does the money come from to increase wages? Where are we losing money? So if we increase the wages here, are we losing money in a different place?
Okay.
That's a good question, Councilman Donovic. Again, Ted Davis representing Parks and Recreation. This is going to come out of Fund 208, and this is going to impact us operationally without question. I mean, this is a $350,000 hit we're talking about, but losing memberships is going to impact our revenue significantly. As much as it pains me to say this, this is simply a cost of doing business in my estimation. And some have questioned the foresight or lack thereof of us not doing something sooner. And I would say that, you know, we looked at wages as late as April, you know, comprehensively looked at wages and asked everyone in our department where we were at. And as late as a month ago, we were the highest paying position, we were the highest paying starting wage in several positions. And that changed rapidly. We've weathered certain storms. We've seen increases in the private sector, certainly, and it hasn't had significant impact on our hiring. Not like this. This has been incredibly unique, and quite honestly, we were unprepared for the circumstances that were put out before us. I mean, when we have, I don't want to say competitors, but we have other areas or other clubs offering $30 an hour for lifeguards to finish out the summer season. When we see other municipalities offering a $2.50 an hour bonus per hour, that's, you know, gonna go on indefinitely, and it's a permanent change, and they're actually talking about increasing even more. What we're doing now is these changes simply allow us to play the same game. We're not necessarily going to win, but now we are at least going to be competitive with these changes. We're not playing the same game right now. Not when we're trying to hire lifeguards at $11.55 an hour or building supervisors at $13 an hour. Not when McDonald's or Burger King or Arby's is paying 15 plus. Not when a family diner is paying line cooks for $25 an hour. I mean, we are simply not in the same game, and this gives us a fighting chance. This certainly doesn't solve all of our problems, and it creates some along the way, without question. But I don't see another way out, because without these changes, it's going to get worse.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. I do understand and do feel for you, because like you said, you're seeing industries across the country paying increases of $10 an hour where they would have been a year ago, and it's not that companies, I believe, don't want to pay fairly. It's just at the end of the day, cost of goods are going up, costs of everything are going up, and equally so, people want more money to afford to go out. It's a difficult issue, and I understand why you're coming here today, and hopefully we can fix it. Thanks, Mr. Davis.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Toy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I may, to two people standing there. Do we know which cities kind of are ahead of us? I mean, is it like Canton or Westland or whatever? I mean, are they even paying more than what we're doing right now? Do you think? Or?
Councilwoman Toy, that's a great question. Yes, we do.
Okay.
Again, I'll say it. I mean, Canton increased their wages again across the board, $2.50 per hour.
Yeah.
Where we're being hurt, it's not just municipalities, and I think that's been our maybe the fault of our logic in this, is we were comparing ourselves to other municipalities. We were comparing ourselves to Farmington Hills and to Canton and to other communities around here and what we were paying staff. And I think that's led us to this point now. We're no longer competing with those entities. I mean, we are, but we're competing with the private sector in a much bigger way than we were previously. And quite honestly, we're losing. I mean, that's what it comes down to. So Canton is paying, again, $2.50 more across the board, more than what we are. I'm sure Farmington Hills is going to follow suit if they haven't already. I'm not aware of it.
Sure.
And I think these are going to be issues. These are going to be something where it will be a cascade effect across parks and recreation agencies. Look at, I mean, how many pool closures have you heard about this year?
Right.
On the heels of 2020, where, you know, we were fortunate. We were one of the few communities that opened pools. I can think Oakland County didn't open pools. Most of Oakland County didn't open any recreational pools. Even Wayne County didn't open any recreational pools except Livonia. We were the outlier. And now you're seeing not closures because of, bless you.
Allergies, not.
Okay, that's okay. But now you're seeing not closures because of COVID, because of a pandemic. You're seeing closures because simply of staffing shortages.
So it is, you know, it's a competition for people. It's
Yes.
not only Parks and Rec, and I empathize, don't get me wrong, it's an ongoing problem. I've been real fortunate in my business, we've held on to everybody, believe it or not. But I, like you, increased real quick, because I could see some of that coming. We could see that coming, that we were gonna compete for people, even counter sales, for goodness sakes, you know what I mean? And, you know, what does it boil down to? You know, it's money, but it's other things, and I think that's what we all have to figure out eventually, because you don't want to close facilities, you certainly don't want to sell facilities,
No.
and you know what I mean? But yet the world's changed, and I don't know if it comes back. You know what I mean? In the greater scheme of things, who knows? We don't have that crystal ball. But thank you for having the vision you've been having, and that woman standing next to you too, thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you, Councilman
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Councilmember Barr.
First of all, you said Fund 208. I don't remember off
Sorry.
the top of my head what Fund 208 is.
Sorry, 208 is the Recreation Fund.
Okay, so with that being the Recreation Fund, you're doing a great job of presenting this, Ted, but would it be, I'm just gonna add this, would it be accurate to say that if this is driving a loss in memberships, getting competitive in this in one sense theoretically pays for itself, right? I mean, because if what you're saying is true, that we're losing memberships because we're not doing this, then, and we do it in order to avoid losing those memberships, hopefully gain memberships, then it probably lessens the net cost for us, right?
Councilman Barr, that is an incredibly difficult question to answer. I mean, what I will say is, theoretically, it could pay for itself with increases in membership. Where I can say with all certainty is, if we don't do this, we are not done seeing facility closures and seeing membership losses. And that's my greatest concern, is that, you know, coming out of a pandemic when we thought we hit a bottom, we didn't hit a bottom number, not yet. And that we're faced with hitting a bottom.
Sure. How many, is this something that is the last 6 months, last 12 months that you've been seeing this trend?
For membership decreases?
Of losing people because of not having our hourly rate high enough?
I would say this has been the last
It's a summer thing?
2 to
or-
3 months.
Okay, so over that, I'm talking rough numbers, over that period of time, how many people are we talking that we've lost in your judgment to this? 10, 25, 50, 100?
Closer to 50. It's
Okay.
difficult to say with all certainty. What we're seeing is a lot of combinations, is people that used to work for us and would average 30 hours a week during the summer, now have gotten other jobs and are giving us one shift or two shifts a week. So it's not just a number of, you know, people issue, it's a number of hours worked issue as well.
Got it. Of those 50, I know I'm asking for rough numbers here, but of those 50, how many of those are lifeguards?
I would guess about half of those are
Okay.
lifeguards.
And the next question I have is, if we were to, I'm really putting you on the spot here, so if you don't know the answer to some of these, that's fine, but if we were to graph out when these people have left, is this something that we saw a big spike at one point, you know, a month ago, and then it's kind of come back, or has this been an increasing trend? What does that trend line look like?
I would say this is an increasing trend right now.
Okay. Then it's,
Again,
okay.
I think a lot of places, they're just beating us on pay. And I think, you know what, maybe it's youth, but maybe the pandemic reset everything. I think people are looking at their time in a much more transactional way than they did pre-pandemic. I think it was simply expected that college students worked, or some high school students worked as many hours as they could during the summer to save up. I think it is now viewed much more as, I'm giving you X number of hours for X number of dollars, and I'm not giving you any more than that.
So it's your contention, just maybe stating the obvious, but I'm going somewhere with this. It's your contention that people are leaving because our hourly rates are not high enough, right? They're getting paid more elsewhere.
That is
Okay.
correct, yes.
Now, one of you mentioned that you've had people, I think it was maybe Ms. Mayor that said this, but that we've had people coming and then leaving within 90 days. Is that also because they're just getting higher per hour rates somewhere else?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so if that's the case, if people are leaving because of per hour rate, but first of all, before I ask this question, I want to make it clear, I totally understand the market reality of this. And absolutely, there needs to be something done here. So no issue there at all. I've got a daughter that works at a fast food restaurant, and I've seen it with her. It blows my mind what they're paying these kids, and yet she could leave now and go make some more elsewhere. I mean, we got a postcard in the mail last week. I'll give them a free advertisement, I guess, but a lot of us got it from Del Taco, that they're lowering their age to 14 and offering $400 signing bonuses and increasing rates up to as high as $17 per hour. And I've got a 14-year-old going, hey, Dad, sign me up. You know, it's crazy what's happening. So I totally get that. Here's my question. If people are leaving because of the rate issue, which we're solving here, why do we need the stick with us bonus, which by my math is roughly 50 grand of this 350 grand?
Councilman Barr, I think you, before you even asked the question, I think you answered it. Look at what Del Taco's doing. Look at what the private sector's doing. It's not about just one thing. It's about offering as much as you possibly can. Again, I mean, Del Taco, that was a perfect illustration, so I thank you for offering that up. Again, what are they offering? Look at Taco Bell. Look at every place it's offering. It's not simply an hourly rate, it's signing bonuses, it's college scholarships. There are a multitude of offers out there, and to make us as competitive as we can, this is simply another way to do that. So do I think we're losing people for an hourly rate? I do, absolutely. But do I think there are other factors in play as well that we simply can't compete with, and this is just one small way to do that? I do.
Okay, well played.
Thank you.
And you've done a good job with this whole thing. It's just, like I said, I understand the issue. It's just not, it's important to ask these questions because we're talking about $350,000, not just one time. We're talking about $350,000 per year. You know, in the Councilman Donovic's question, that it has to come from somewhere. Yes. I think you mentioned in the, I mean, I understand it's coming from Fund 208, but it's capital projects that aren't going to happen because of this. And so, but we are a people business, and so we need to do something, but it's just important that we look at it closely. Let me just make sure that I don't have any remaining questions. The only other question I had, but then I saw a little bit earlier today that you've answered it, is that there is an end date put on this. You've got this going through end of fiscal year next year, right?
That's correct.
Which I think is good. I mean, my guess it's going to be incumbent on us to remember that and ask the question in a year, because I doubt the administration's going to offer it. But I do think, just a brief commentary, you know, there's debate as to what's causing this, you know, whether it's just inflationary pressures, whether it is the fact that the government is paying people to stay home, whether it is the rush back, you know, after COVID. We could debate what those percentages are. They probably all play a role. What I feel, and there's one economist that I trust that I listen to on a podcast every week, I do think that this is going to at least somewhat come back to earth. We're already seeing that in some cases. Take construction costs, for example, that have come back, I think, 70% in the last couple months after going up 100% or something like that. So I think that end date's important. I know it's always difficult to pull these things back, but it does concern me a little bit that we're signing ourselves up for this level of increased cost for our labor for something that might be a temporary effect. So I'm glad that the end date is on there. Other than that, as much as it's hard to do, you've persuaded me on it. So thanks.
Councilmember Jolly.
Thank you, Madam President. I understand the argument, satisfied with the answers that you've given tonight. In terms of having differentiators between what the rec center is and what a fast food restaurant is and all this other kind of stuff, to what extent, if at all, do you offer these employees guest passes, memberships, the ability to take classes for free or at a reduced cost? Because that seems like that is something that is available and would have a lower economic impact, and potentially could, if we have some high school kids who work at the rec center and they're taking some classes, they might draw on their friends and might have a wider net. I'm just curious.
Councilman Jolly, that's an excellent question, and that's something. We've had a benefit called Crazy Cash, where they earn, for a certain number of hours, they earn dollars towards memberships, programs, whatever. We actually are going to take to the Parks and Recreation Commission for the August meeting that part-time employees who work 2 shifts a week, basically regular employees we have throughout the year, each month they would get a free 1-month membership. So this is renewable every month. We hear that more than anything, that it's, quite honestly, it's been long overdue that we make this change. I mean, we ask these kids, you know, and they're not all kids, but we ask these people to do so much for us. And the rec center is a community. It's actually it's dozens of communities inside the rec center, and we're not doing a good job of fostering that, especially by not allowing our employees to really partake in the benefits of the rec center. So we're going to ask the Parks and Recreation Commission to change that.
Right. I think that's a good idea. I'm on board and I'm supportive with everything you've discussed tonight, but I'm going to ask for this to be put on the regular agenda, just so we can have a formal vote on it. But I do appreciate the effort and the work from both of you and all of your people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President.
Councilmember Barr.
I do have one more question. The expiration of this on November 30th, 2022, does that imply both to the rate increase and to the stipend, the whole thing?
Yes.
And then the question related to that will, I said it'll be incumbent on us to remember, but if we're putting into writing here that this expires on November 30th, would you have to come back to us to ask for an extension of that in order for it to continue? Okay.
Either an extension or update our temporary wage scale completely, or would simply revert back to what it was previously.
Got it. Thanks.
Anything else? All right, that'll be placed on the regular agenda.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Anyone in the audience like to communicate with the council? All right, last call. And with that, I believe we are adjourned. Good night, Livonia. Thank you, LivoniaTV. Thank you to, I do have one just comment to make. I was informed during the meeting that there were problems again with people not being able to view the meeting on Spectrum Channel 203. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but that's unfortunate. It makes it difficult for people to watch the meeting from home. So thank you. And,